Hi everyone, happy Thursday. It's Dina the dietitian, Dish with Dina. This is National Nutrition Month, or the almost end of National Nutrition Month, and I've been documenting a day in the life of my world, what I'm doing in my role as a private practitioner, as an adjunct lecturer, as an independent contractor, and also my new role as a primary caregiver to my mom, who is in at-home hospice care. Today was solely focused on private practice. Because if you saw my video from yesterday, I got home so late, and then I had to do a bunch of things before finally heading to bed. And I also ate at about 11:30 p.m. So I wanted to give my body a time to digest. And I didn't actually, well, the last time I looked at the clock before I fell asleep was probably about 2 a.m, which again is very unlike me, but I'm juggling a lot of things, and many of the things that I'm doing outside of my work schedule has to be done after hours. Like a lot of times, I'm not getting any quiet time to myself until about 9 o'clock at night anyway. But in yesterday's case, it was because I drove all night and then landed here quite late in the evening. So today, what I normally do is I set my alarm for 5:30 in the morning, and that allows me about an hour just to kind of like ease into the day. I know a lot of people who just, hit the ground running the second that alarm goes off, but not your girl here. I need at least a couple of snoozes. I need to ease into things. I like doing like a crossword puzzle or reading or something like that first thing in the morning. And then 6:30 a.m. I usually try to do some light physical activity, or if there's time, I'll go for a run or a walk outdoors, and if it's nice outside, or I'll go to the gym, depending on what my schedule is like. Now, these days, I'm doing none of that. And especially last night, because I came home so late and I didn't get to bed until about 2 a.m, or I didn't get to sleep until about 2 a.m. I refused to sacrifice sleep, so I turned off all the alarms and I didn't get up until about close to 7:30. Having said that, I also don't sacrifice the food, so I don't skip breakfast. I do not skip a main or first meal of the day. I feel like it's really important for me to fuel my body and be able to be focused and on, especially when I was struggling with some fuzziness, some brain fog after not having the best night's sleep, or at least not the amount of quantity of sleep that I wanted. So I got up and I had a leftover smoothie in the fridge. And so for me, the way that I try to eat, well, you can kind of see behind me some examples. Those are actually my meals that I took pictures of. But the way that I like to eat and the way that I like to share some guidance with my patients is to make sure that everything is well balanced. And what that means is that there are enough calories to keep me sustained between meal 1 and meal 2, and that there is a good ratio of both carbohydrates, proteins, and healthy fats. So in the case of my smoothie, my ingredients, my recipe for my smoothie, usually there's water or maybe even a splash of almond milk in there. And then I have a handful of raw baby spinach, and then I'll throw in some frozen strawberries, and then I'll throw in maybe a tablespoon or 2 of peanut butter, and a half of an avocado. Those are your healthy fats. And then protein sources can come from a variety of those things I just mentioned too, but sometimes I'll also do 2 scoops of a protein powder. I'm not opposed to things like that either, just to get a little extra, fullness factor and satiety in the smoothie that I'm making. Now, I made one of those a couple of days ago, and there was a lot left over. So I'm not eating the whole entire thing sometimes, depending, again, how I'm feeling intuitively, if I feel like that's enough for now, or if I'm kind of rushing from my breakfast into my first patient sessions or a meeting, then I just have to call it quits, and I'll come back to it another time, usually during the day. But the other day I felt pretty satisfied with just a half a serving of the giant blender full that I had. And so I had the rest of that today. But here's the thing. I don't just stop the smoothie. I make myself a little like veggie sausage. So I'm mostly vegetarian, pescatarian, flexitarian, I guess you can call it too. I just know what works best for me and how I feel when I'm digesting. So I do tend to lean a little bit more towards plant-based items. So I did a little veggie sausage, and I had, I think, like a blueberry muffin top, half of that. So little bits and pieces. Overall, I don't count calories, but if you're keeping track, that's a few hearty 100 calories. And so my guidance is usually about 100 calories should equal about an hour's worth of energy. So if you are following along and calculating, 7:30 was my breakfast time. My first patient appointment was at 10. I did not have another break until about 11:30, 12 o'clock. So we're talking 4 hours in before I start thinking about my second meal. And sure enough, the timing was almost perfect because around 12, 12:30, I was like, I think I need to eat. So I stopped for lunch. What I'm not being great at this week, because it's just not working well that I'm in the kitchen and doing things and preparing my meals, is documenting a lot of what I'm doing. So I'm just going to explain to you what I had. So earlier, a couple of days ago, I made a container full of tuna fish salad, and I used a variety of different flavorings in there. Like I did horseradish, and I think I had sage, rosemary, tarragon, dried herbs. I had grated carrots. I did do about a tablespoon and a half of whatever kind of mayonnaise my mom has lying around. It could be low fat, I'm not sure. And then I also put in a nice hearty squeeze of Dijon mustard. So again, I like elevating the flavor profiles of that. And because it's for my mom too, and unfortunately, naturally, as we age, we lose our taste buds. And our appetite kind of goes away too, which I think I've mentioned about my mom as well. So we want to make sure that she is enticed by the food that she's eating, that she's not just eating and being like, I guess. Although, side note, she has said to me sometimes, this is tasteless. And I'm like, girl, what are you talking about? Because I can taste all the flavors, but her taste buds are not at the same level as mine are. So I don't really want to over salt or anything like that for her. So I do tell her sometimes, try to enjoy the natural flavors that are in the food that she's eating. And I'll try to elevate it next time by maybe putting a squeeze of lemon or adding a little bit more like pepper or something like that, just to kick it up a notch. So that was my tuna salad sandwich, which I smashed onto a piece of like whole wheat sourdough type of bread, 2 slices of that, because I toasted it. So while it was nice and warm, I put on 2 slices of thinly sliced Swiss cheese. So it became kind of like a tuna melt-ish. And then I had mentioned the creamy horseradish thing. So I put a little spread of that. And I also had some leftover, I think like a spinach artichoke spread too. So instead of mayonnaise, I was trying to elevate the flavors there as well. And then I put on a hearty amount of that tuna salad and covered it in pickles. And then that's what I ate. And here I said the other day, because we're Italian, this is the thing. I don't know if it is in your culture or if, I'm just making up excuses to have dessert. But when we are done with our meal, usually it's a dinner meal, but because my mom, her timing is such that midday is dinner for her. So I've gotten used to that too. So as soon as we're done with lunch, I had a cup of coffee and a couple of cookies, and that was it. And so that was, like I said, around 12:30 or so. It is currently, as I'm filming this, almost 6:30. I'm getting ready for my last patient of the day. So it has been back to back. And I'm feeling still pretty satisfied from that. So again, that's maybe 400 or 500 calories or something that was in that particular meal. Again, I don't calorie count. I don't force my patients to do that. If that's something you enjoy doing, go nuts. I don't want anybody to obsess over anything, but I just try to include the recommendation that if you are paying attention to what you are eating, both quality and quantity, that something like that, something that is hearty, something that has a good ratio of carbs and fats and proteins, something that has a decent amount of calories. So none of this, 100 calorie only stuff, because you're going to get hungry pretty soon after that. So look at the timing of your day, like I'm doing, knowing when I'm done here, I might have a light snack. Like I might grab a fruit, some cheese, crackers, something like that, because this is really holding me over. And in this particular case, because I had such a long, late night last night, I don't want to have another big meal, and I don't want to go to bed late. So I'm pretty much going to call it a day as soon as I finish my patient charts and catch up on a couple of emails. So maybe around 9:30, 10:30 the latest. Tomorrow we have a very full day again. I'm taking my mom for blood work. So we're going to do that fasting. So that's going to be out the door around 7 in the morning or so. But when we come back from that, we'll sit and we'll have breakfast together. Because today we weren't really able to do it because I was all over the place and she wasn't ready. And so I left her on her own for lunch, and I had my meal earlier than she did today. So that's just sharing with you, with a packed schedule of things that I'm working with, I'm still trying to be very mindful because I'm on this computer all day long, and I want to make sure I'm fully aware and focused on my patients, that I'm not thinking about food or thinking about how hungry I am or audibly hearing my stomach growl, because pro tip, when it gets to that point, it's too late. You should have eaten already. I did want to share with you the suburbs. This is very different than my New York City view, and I don't know if you can hear this or not, but the birds are chirping. It's quite a lovely day outside right now, about 70 degrees, And it is also garbage night, so you're gonna see some bags and bins in places, and that's something that I'm able to help my mom do too. So right now we have laundry going, and I just collected all the garbage inside the house and I put it out on the curb because tomorrow morning bright and early the garbage collector will come. But what I also try to do, if you know, today's quite lovely, I didn't have the time, but what I also try to do, and especially with my mom when she has the energy, we do try to take some walks around. So you can see it's quite flat here, but there are places in the streets that cross over that are a little bit more elevated or hilly, and if she has the energy we can do that. If not, then maybe I'll just go on my own instead. But that too has been quite some time since I've been able to do that, unfortunately, because things have just been juggling a lot. I hope you understand that not everything is going to be perfect, but it has to be realistic. So I try not to abide by any particular rules. Like if I'm just not able to get to something, then so be it. Now, like I said, I am trying to prioritize certain things. So like sleep is a big thing for me, and that has been suffering the consequences in the last 3 months or so. And food is a big priority for me too. Like I definitely want to make sure I'm satisfying myself, nourishing myself, and treating my body well, because I also have a quite a sensitive GI system. So there's a lot of things that could go wrong if I rely too much on takeout foods or foods that I don't feel necessarily in control of. So I'm not against those things. It's what works best for me. And I want to encourage you too. That's a great thing as well. Like, you know, think about when you're eating, the habits, the patterns. One meal might not make or break you, but if you see consistently that you're stepping a little bit outside of your comfort zone and or eating a bit more indulgently, then notice if you recognize any symptoms or signs or discomfort, because that could be your body's way of telling you, I'm not loving this so much. And then you can maybe opt for a different version of something the next day, or be a little bit more mindful or intentional in the weeks to come to kind of offset any of that potential damage that you've done. So this is going to be a very quick and dirty video vlog for today. Oh, I'm loving the way that the light is looking here, by the way, because there's just been too much going on. And I don't want to force myself to just keep talking for talking's sake, but I think I covered most of the things that I recognized about a day that feels very, very packed, jam-packed, and how I still make time to honor my hunger, honor my fullness, and honor any other habits that I feel just might be falling by the wayside. I'm kind of like course correcting as the day and the week progresses. So thanks so much for tuning in on Thursday. This is the 4th day of my week in the life, day in the life, National Nutrition Month celebration awareness video vlogging. And I will be wrapping it up tomorrow. Tomorrow is going to be, again, back-to-back patient sessions. And like I said, I'm taking my mom to get her blood work done. So we'll see how tomorrow's day progresses. And I definitely have to make food because we are running out of meals here and I am slacking a little bit. So I have to make sure that I carve out time. I have food in the fridge right now that's defrosting. So by this time tomorrow, I hope to have made some homemade meals, and I'll be documenting that for you. Thanks for tuning in. Like, subscribe, share, follow, etc. And happy National Nutrition Month.